What double standard peeves you the most? Write in the comments what you think about this. Enjoy the show. Story 1. When a man speaks his mind, people praise him for being so real and honest. But when a woman speaks her mind, people harshly criticize and dogpile on her for being difficult. Of course, this type of double standard is stemmed from misogyny and sexism, especially in a patriarchal society. Of course, Taylor Swift, the Man song, explains it all. Story 2. At my work, the men are always expected to wear long shirt and pants and closed-toed shoes. Even if it's oven hot outside, you're frowned upon if you turn up in a short-sleeved shirt or, God forbid, shorts. Whereas women can turn up in crop tops, sundresses, skirts, and sandals. In summer, we have women looking like they just came in from the beach, or who kick off their shoes and go barefoot under the desk all day. No way a man could turn up in a t-shirt and board shorts. Story 3. The fact that women are ran through when they have a high number of sex partners, but men are just players when they have many sex partners. I especially can't stand the men who want their women to be young virgins while they get to be as promiscuous as they please. Focusing on someone's history too much can make building a relationship complicated. Story 4. Guy on our staff we liked so much when he was on the inmate labor crew that we hired him as an employee upon his release. His crime was drunk driving. His entire life is ruined. All he had to do was be the mayor, and he'd just pay out the nose for a great attorney so everyone would forget about it in 2 weeks. These two men did the same crime, in the same city, in the same year. Story 5. In the last couple years, some stores have made it a priority to advertise and offer larger-sized clothing for bigger women. Some of these stores even have their own plus-size women's departments. The double standard here is that the same stores will not offer big and tall sizes for men, and so us guys who maybe enjoy grilling out a bit too much are limited to where we can get clothes. Story 6. Take your 8-year-old daughter anywhere, and you're not being a parent. You're giving mommy a break or babysitting. Any moms here ever had the cops called on them at the park with their daughter just to make sure? Somehow, better safe than sorry fails to make me appreciate the assumption I'm a child abductor until I prove otherwise. Story 7. How some women and most teen girls I've met will forgive a male friend for being honestly terrible. But as soon as their female friends do a mistake, sometimes even if it was a misunderstanding, those same girls would blow it out of proportion. If I'm talking more specifically about teenage girls, I see loads let their guy friends say the rudest stuff to them, and they defend them no matter what. Not exclusive to if they are attracted either. I've seen lesbians do this too. Those same girls would go feral if one of their female friends do or say something even a bit questionable. I've seen some literally attack, drop, or bully and harass their female friends for the smallest stuff, sometimes even misunderstandings. That's extreme cases, but it still happens more subtly. Basically, what I'm saying is they don't make their guy friends take any accountability, but don't let any room for mistakes for their girlfriends. It's genuinely just internalized misogyny. I feel like I should blame the people who said to young girls, boys will be boys. Story 8. Woman hits man. Acceptable and even encouraged. Man hits back. Straight to jail. Female victim. Sympathy. Male victim. Ridicule. Literally no shelters for male victims of abuse unless you're a child, and little to no support groups for male victims of domestic violence. Very few might believe you, but even fewer will actually help you. You want to know why more men unalive themselves than women? This is why. Story 9. If a woman hits you, no one will do anything, but if a man raises his voice a little, he is already a danger. That if a father kills or rapes his children, he is an irredeemable monster, but if the mother does it, she is a victim of depression. Or what would the children do to her? That people think they are humanitarian just for putting a sweater on a dog, but you see them there despising children, and other people saying, animals are worth more than people. May the United States always give political asylum to the corrupt from other countries like in Ecuador, but they do act as Maduro's enemies when they give asylum to guys who are just as rats as him. Story 10. If you murder a pregnant woman who is on the way to an abortion clinic to end the pregnancy, you can be charged with double homicide for both the lady and fetus. But if she were to end the pregnancy, she wouldn't be charged with anything. I am staunchly pro-choice, but I don't understand how in one situation it's a murder, but in the other it's not. It's either a child or not, and the laws should be applied evenly. Story 11. My body, my choice. Until it comes to Muslim women who cover themselves up per their own choice. How every innocent person has the right to live until it comes to innocent Muslims, including Palestinians. When we see a white shooter, we call them innocent and defend them. He probably has mental health issues, but when we see a black shooter, we blame their race. Story 12. How SA against women can be claimed and ruin a man's life for looking at her funny even if he did nothing and even if found innocent. But essay against men is impossible because suddenly it is either funny and a joke or impossible because some line in the definition suddenly claims it has to involve the accuser penetrating the victim. I had a mate get his life ruined by this to the point where he took his life because he couldn't get rid of the label event though he was innocent. Story 13. How people who are neurotypical can just talk over and interrupt each other, but when someone who's neurodivergent tries to express a thought or get a word in, they get steamrolled or told they're the rude one for interrupting. Like, when is it a pause or a stop in the other party's words? Where is that distinction? Story 14. As a white woman, I've noticed that when there's a post of a white woman making a crude sexual joke, it's cute and funny, but when a black woman does it, she's a hoe in the comments. Same with music. I see Megan Thee Stallion being sexual, and people say the nastiest shit about her, but a white woman singer can be as sexual as she wants, and it's fine. Story 15. I was typing out a whole post and lost it. So here's the short version. Body positivity. It seems as if, oftentimes, it's just a thinly veiled excuse to justify being fat because I rarely see the same attitude applied towards other body issues, in my case, bad teeth. In fact, I just saw a whole post where women were just ripping on dates that had bad teeth, and it made me feel like shit if I'm being honest. Imagine replacing it with guys and replace the bad teeth with fat women, how that would have gone over. Bad teeth and being fat are actually very similar. For instance, if I had taken better care with my hygiene growing up and in my 20s, I'd be in a lot better position. Just like a lot of fat people, if they had learned to eat healthy and stay active, would as well. But I'm just comparing here, not criticizing. A lot of us struggle with mental health and many other issues that complicate these things that seem so simple on paper, but can be a real struggle in real life. Yes, there are some people that have health issues that make losing weight a lot harder, just like some people have health conditions that affect their teeth and gums. Story 16. People that preach a standard but yet don't adhere to that standard in their lives. I understand that everyone is flawed, but that lack of self-awareness before people accuse others when it's blatant hypocrisy drives me nuts. It's nothing more than moral superiority lip service. Story 17. How boys' men are viewed as perverted and supposedly can't think of women as friends, while at the same time two women could symbolically fuck and would just be viewed as close friends. Just happened to me last week during a summer camp where one of my co-teamers said every guy turn away for 10 seconds so that she could change her top. There were me, her boyfriend, and 3 lesbians in the room. Go to another room or tell everybody to turn away. Last year on another holiday camp, 2 openly lesbian co-teamers scissored in an openly viewable place. Nobody talked about them being together or anything, partially because they said they weren't. Things to be made clear. 1. All that happened in places the campgoers couldn't access. 2. I'm not complaining that I wasn't involved in the changing, but that out of the 5 people around her, she was completely fine with people watching her that are attracted to her as long as they are the same gender, making it come of as if boys couldn't handle seeing breasts in a bra. Story 18. Single dads. Wow, that's so admirable. Parenting and working full-time. How do you manage it all? You even pack their lunches and drive them to their sports. You are such a devoted dad. You're literally Superman. Single moms. Oh, you're struggling? Maybe you should have thought about that before opening your legs. What did you do to drive the father away? You're low value. Men will fuck you, but they will never want to be with you. Nobody wants to raise another man's kids. Story 19. My ex, who cannot afford this, the key point, doesn't work the weeks he has our kids, and as such voluntarily impoverishes himself. Meanwhile, I work full-time, have to pay for daycare on my weeks, and wind up making all the big purchases for our kids, plus my other kid whose father does help more financially. But if I did the same shit, I would be such a dedicated mother. I'd be a lazy POS who mooches off my exes. Everyone sings the praises of my ex for being a full-time dad when he has the kids, but who actually provides for them? Oh yeah, his mommy. Story 20. Single mothers being blamed for everything from the federal debt to the crime rate, being called used/damaged goods, being considered undateable, lengthy discussions about how single mothers are damaging society and fathers should automatically be given custody that most men don't want, but there is zero negative social repercussions for men that completely abandon their own children. None. Nada. Zero. Single fathers are praised as heroes and given a ton of support, even if they're just every other weekend dads or were abusive, shitty spouses, which is why their marriage ended to begin with. Story 21. Us ladies can physically assault men in public, but if he tries to defend himself or strike back, then he's the aggressor. No honey, that's called equal rights you keep whining about. If a woman assaults a man, I wholeheartedly expect him to open hand with half his strength, smack her a single time, then walk away. How dare you condone violence on women? No, I grew up abused by my mother, older sister, and grandmother. The single slap with half one's strength and walking away sets the standard. Hit me, that's cool, but I'm gonna strike back with restraint because it's not your fault nobody raised you. A man that doesn't defend himself when a woman is beating on him only does so out of fear that he will become the abuser. Depp v's Heard was an amazing example of this, as normal women, even abused ones, do not shit the bed next to their partner in the hopes said partner will roll into it. That is called biological warfare and a sign of a psychopath. Story 22. The hypocrisy of prejudice. People are quick to point something out when a group they don't like is involved, but don't say a word when it pertains to them. All men are cheaters, even though some women do the same thing. All women are untrustworthy, and I hate them because I was in a toxic relationship with one. What's that? A woman is wary of men because she was abused and raped by an abusive boyfriend? I don't care, she's a bitch. Doesn't she know that not all men are the same? Or the Republicans who bitch and complain about someone having a pride sticker on their car because they're shoving their beliefs down our throats. But then you look at their car, and it's covered in political stickers. Other things include expectations that society has normalized. Women showing emotion is fine and typical. If they don't, then there is something wrong with them or they're a bitch. On the opposite side, men are expected not to express themselves or open up. If they do, they're a wuss and need to toughen up. If a woman sleeps around or has a high sex drive, she's mocked and labeled a slut. A man sleeps around and he's a stud. A man can be uninterested in having children and get his balls cut. But God forbid a woman doesn't want kids and tries to get her tubes tied. Or how when a mother is watching her child, she's being a good parent. But when a father does things with his child, he's babysitting, as though he was forced to spend time with his own kid. Picking and choosing who is acceptable to treat differently. Racism is wrong unless the person is white. Homophobia is wrong, but heterophobia is fine. Being sexist is wrong unless it's towards men. America is filled with idiots and racists and murderers, but let's conveniently ignore the other countries that are committing horrible atrocities. Story 23. A person can be terrible while alive, but as soon as they die suddenly, it's all sunshine and rainbows. A truck full of the shittiest teenagers killed themselves while driving drunk and high with no seatbelts and blowing a stop sign when I was younger. These were bullies and just generally terrible people. They died in a stupid way doing everything wrong. Suddenly, though, it's all, oh, they were so young and good. We will always remember them as loving, kind people. Ma'am, your son blew a stop sign going 100 while snorting coke off the steering wheel. Clearly, you made some mistakes with him. Story 24, double standard pet peeves. Hoo boy, guy who wants a thin girl with big boobs. What a pig, asshole, sexist. But girl who wants a guy in finance, 6'5", trust fund, blue eyes. Yes, sis, queen, slay. Get a high-value male. Guy who brings up certain pains of being a man, fucking incel, but girl who brings up certain pains of being a woman, enlightened queen. Millionaire who does weird stuff, eccentric, exotic, but normal person a little bit outside the norm. Weirdo. White person does something horrible. He is a lone wolf who was a kind, caring, bright soul who was led astray by our cruel society. What could make such a good guy go into such a dark place? We, society, failed him. But person of color does something horrible? He is a terrorist or an example of how that entire race has something wrong with them. A conservative does something horrible? It's too early to politicize this, and revealing this person's manifesto and naming him would only do more damage, plus he was crazy. When someone is crazy, all political affiliation goes out the window. But liberal or minority does something crazy. Hey everyone, his name was John Doe and he was a liberal minority. Here is his manifesto. We shall play this in the news every day for months. Wow. European foreigner has an accent. Ah, that's cute. But non-Euro foreigner has an accident. LOL, he sounds so silly. Just some examples. Naturally dark-skinned person who is from Europe. Egdon Jr., Melania, Lauren Boebert, white, but extremely pale person from Latin America with Euro facial features that doesn't have blue eyes or blonde hair. LMAO brown Latino, not white. Fat ass driving an overpriced $70K lifted massive pickup truck that will never leave the pavement or use the truck bed. Okay. BMW, Audi or sports car driver? Omal must have a small dick. I bet he parks in 2 parking spots. Midlife crisis. Story 25. This just happened to me. When people make comments about how small and skinny I am, but will throw a hissy fit when someone makes a comment about a larger person. I get it. Some people think of it as a compliment. It is not. I struggled for a year to gain as much weight as I had. Don't diminish that by saying, oh, you need to eat more. Just as I wouldn't say to someone, oh, you need to eat less. Story 26. The rules for thee, not for me. I hear too many complaints from women about their men, who they chose. Hello? Those same things they complain about are exactly the same things she's doing. I point it out and her answer is always, but it's different. I push back and say it's not. Then all of a sudden I'm labeled a pick-me for calling out their hypocrisy. I'm of the mind that if you expect things from others, you need to be able to reciprocate those things as well. If not, it isn't fair to ask people to do things when you can't even do them or uphold them yourself. Story 27. It's okay for women to think they have every right to compete against men but whine like little bitches when men compete against women. Oh, that's not fair. Women, quit demanding your right to compete against men, and I'll support your right to not compete against men. Till then, in this corner weighing 115 pounds. Story 28. All of them, honestly. I hate double standards in general, and especially because my husband pretty much refuses to recognize them 95% of the time, and the other 5% are only ones where he feels like the one slighted, but he doesn't even recognize all of them that affect him negatively. He always has some reason why it makes sense that this is viewed this way, while that's viewed that way. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, like it. Be sure to write comments and share your stories.